Hello, welcome to my studio. My name is Wendy Anderson and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to paint this very easy and fun and cute little seaside painting with yellow tulips and a sailboat. I absolutely love it. It's very pastel and your supplies ready and let's dive in. Thanks for being here. So I love painting these kinds of things. I'm using what I normally use, and I'm using a 1-inch flat brush, a 1/2 inch flat, and a small round, and then the primary colors plus black and white. So we're going to take the big brush in the water. I'm using an 8x10 wrapped canvas, and I'm just going to brush a little bit of moisture onto the canvas. You could also use a little spray bottle to spray moisture on if that's something that you want to do. I just use the brush a little bit on. And it just helps the blending a little bit to have a not super dry canvas. It helps the paint kind of go in a little better. You don't want to have too much though, so you can always like smooth off or wipe off the excess water. I'm going to go for a very pastel kind of light color today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some blues and stuff, and then we'll move into some different colors. So we're going to start with blue and white. And in order to mute this color, which we will do, not yet, but we'll add a little bit of red to it. But I'm going to just start with the blue and white. And I'm going to go right to the top and just add almost like a little triangle of that. Like so. And then to mute it a bit, I'm going to add a little bit of red to it. So a little bit of red mixed into the blue changes the shade of blue. And then I want it really light, so I'm adding a lot of white too. And then I'm going to pull that on the right side over the blue a little bit. Across on the right at the top. I'm just going down like maybe a third or a quarter of the way. You don't have to go too crazy. But I'm also going to take that color down a little bit more. So I'm going to be maybe about halfway. And then just make a straight horizontal line. And I'm going to take this across, just go side to side. Super easy. I'm going to pull a little bit of this. Just where you want to see it, but notice how you have some of these different like lighter colors and keep it really loose. Like we're just playing here. And then I can move into more of a pink color. Now, you don't have to wash the brush, but you can. You can just simply add mostly red and white to your paintbrush, and you're going to move into more of a pink. And I'm going to take that on the left side in the water here. Let's pull a little bit of this in down below. Just give it a little, and then you can always go back into that blue again if you need to. And just take as much as you need to. I'm going to clean the brush. And then I might even go into like a little bit more of that first shade of blue, just blue and a little bit of white. And you can go in between and just chop in some of that color. So as this blends into the pink, it kind of looks more muted, but you can get some different shades. And maybe grab just a little extra white in some parts. Just make sure you get it all filled in just to at least a couple inches above the bottom. And then you can always go back and add more pink. Maybe I want some pink right above the water line. So you need to clean your brush and just move back into the pink. I kind of dance around and experiment when I do my YouTube videos. So I don't always know exactly what I'm going to do. And I just enjoy that. Let's see how I can add some pink here. And make sure I have enough pink down here. So again, I can go back into the pink. So, you know, back and forth between that blue and pink until you got it filled in. Don't over blend. But it looks fun. I like it. I'm happy. Now what I want to do is create some peachy colors. So it's like mostly white with a little bit of red and yellow. getting this really light peach color, almost more yellowy, and a lot of white. Very pastel, very pastel. And then that can go right in here. Right under and around the purple. Be careful, I'm not touching the purple too much because what will happen is it will change the purple, look kind of muddy. I don't really, personally, I don't want that. But I like getting it close like that, and then you can clean the brush and move away, move into more of a really light pink or peach. So like super light pink or peach. So there could be a little bit of yellow, but it should be more peach, but very, very light. So mostly white with a touch of red, very small amount of red. And then you can go in between the purple and the yellow with that. Just dab. I'm just going horizontal, little short brush strokes. You can have like little removed chunks of doing this. And then I can even pull some of that really light peach or light, super light pink onto the left side of the water. Just chop it in little horizontal brush strokes. And you can slice it through. Keep it mostly on the left because obviously this is like our light source right here on the left side. So much fun. No, my sky is I'm loving it. I clean the brush. I want to add the base coat for these florals down below. So we're going to go ahead and clean the brush, and I'm going with an earthy green color. So we're going to use yellow, blue, and a bit of red. And that makes it kind of earthy. The red makes it earthy and like darker, but it's still predominantly blue. A little bit of red and yellow. So the mostly the blue, but it keeps it dark when you add the red. It's pretty fun. I'm such a paint nerd. And then I'm going to put this at the bottom as a base coat. So however you want to lay it down, it's fine. Try not to do it evenly. Like maybe it goes up a little higher here on the left. And down a little lower in the middle. And there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to be done with the big brush. We can go in with the square brush, the medium square brush, and we can lay down like the base coat for the sailboat, which let's go ahead and do that with like a mauve. So I'm going to do red, white, and a little bit of black. And I don't want it to be too dark or too light at first, so make sure you have enough black and red in there to make it a little on the darker side at first. And then we're going to put our boat over here on the left. I'm going to go ahead and just make a horizontal line to start. And then you can pull up a bit and make that little boat shape. Just like little diagonal lines, and then you pull it together. And then we'll pull up a sail here. I'm just going to go from the center of the boat and make a vertical line that pulls up pretty high. And then you can do another parallel line that goes up not as high, or that goes up like right next to, and then we're going to do different shapes pulling off. So we're going to do like a small triangle back here. And then we'll do a bigger triangle up here. And then I'm going to kind of color in the back side of the triangle with this color. Dust it in. Okay. And then while that dries a little bit, let's go ahead and add some stems for the flowers, which are going to be just a different shade of green. So just maybe add a little more yellow and a lot of white into our first shade of green. So this makes it look a lot brighter. And then you could add some little shapes, like stems pulling out, like that, little lines, vertical lines, little thicker lines that look like leaves maybe. And we're just playing lines and then push a little harder to get some leaf shapes. We just want to create texture. It can be really abstract. Actually, I'm totally okay with it not looking realistic. That's my style. And then if you want, you can always go back in and add some darker brush strokes again. So say maybe I did a lot of light layering and it's like too much. No worries, just go back to that dark green. Again, you have mostly blue, a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of red. And then you can go in and add those some darker lines, like pulling. Again, I want it more earthy, so the more red you add, the more earthy it's gonna look. It creates that more earthy shade, less bright. Some people really, I love the bright colors, but sometimes I like muting them. So, you know, you just have to go with whatever you like. And that's why I like working with the primaries, because you can go either way. You can make it really bright or you can make it really dull. Sky is the limit. You really just got to go with whatever your mood is. Have fun with it. So make sure you get a decent amount of colors there. You can even do some, I'm kind of just cleaning it to reset some that looks more blue with the touch of yellow. It's more like a turquoise, like a bluish, and you can add a little bit of white to it to bring that out. So maybe you have some of this turquoise of slightly more vibrant color popping through here. That looks pretty. My recommendation is always for about 3 shades in any given color area. So whether you're putting down your greens or you're putting down, like we did, lots of different shades of blue and some different shades of the peachy colors. So you really want to explore that. I'm going to clean the brush. I'm going to go ahead and pop in some really light colors for the sailboat. Maybe I'll do like a light, super light peach or cream. So you might have a little bit of yellow and red, but a ton of white. It almost looks white. But you're just making it a little bit mellow. And then you're going to put it on the left side of the sailboat. Just lock it in. Leave the right side dark. Maybe we just have a little bit coming through here. You can go to the top of the boat and add a little highlight. And then you can add a fun little reflection. So maybe I just pull down in the water, like to reflect the boat. So just really light, almost like dry brushing, where you barely have any paint on and you just pull down from the bottom of the boat. And I'm using the bright color of the sail to put the highlight. And then if your highlight gets a little too crazy, you come back in with that light blue and you can kind of chop into the highlight a little bit. So sometimes your highlight or your, reflection needs to be mellowed out by some different pulls. So you could even like wash it out a little bit by just dry brushing the blue over it a bit. So it makes it look a little more subtle and warped into the water, because you don't want it to look too perfectly reflected a lot of times, because that wouldn't really be how it would show up in nature. All right. And now let's add some I'm going to do yellow tulips. So we're going to just start with mostly yellow, touch of red, and some white. And then we're going to put little dabs of yellow at the tips. Maybe some are small and some are big. But usually the bigger ones are going to fall a little bit further at the bottom. So like the ones down below, lower, might look a little bigger than the ones that are closer to the sailboat. Maybe some really small little taps in some spots. Make it look further away. And then we can have some really big, chunky ones to make them look closer. And I'm just adding as many as I want. And you can do whatever you want here. So fun. Try not to cover over your green stuff too much. Make me kind of tempting. And then you can always add, like maybe I add some more of that bright yellow as a layer. Or I can even add some pure white or just like a super light yellow. So as a second coat. So make sure, maybe you don't have to do it to every single one, but make sure you have a few shades on those tulips. And if they look green, because you layering them on top of the green, just add, and maybe you might need to let it dry a bit. Or usually if you just do a really thick brush stroke, it will, it'll be all right to do that. And then you can highlight a couple things. So for example, I can clean the brush and I can just take some pure white and kind of highlight the left side of the boat. Just maybe the far left side, just to give it like a really bright pop. And again, I can come in with just pure white on the tulip. Maybe I just do a couple really small brush strokes of pure white. Let it be thick. You could have some thick texture in there. That's fun. You don't have to, but this is where you can kind of play around and layer and, let it be personal. And then maybe you want to add some more light blue to the leaves down here. So you can always come in with some different shades. Like just to add maybe a little highlight to the stems on the left side, because that's the side that's closer towards the highlight here. So you can kind of play with things like that. You don't have to, and you can always go back to like different shades. So maybe you want to tone things down, go back to your darker shades of green, layer more yellow, add more to your sailboat, add more stems, more dark. Sometimes I'm going to go in and add a little more dark. So again, the dark is just adding red to the green, and then that will make your green look darker. Get some more dark stems and leaves over here. There's more on this side than there is on this side, so I was like wanting to create a little more balance, adding more dark on this side. And just make sure I can see your little stems coming out of the tulips, or you don't have to, but it's kind of fun. And then I can go on and make this more complicated, but I'm going to keep it really simple because, again, I know you can pop in and paint for 20 or 30 minutes and it doesn't need to be this big ordeal, which is what intimidates a lot of people away from painting. But you can create a cool little beach scene in like 20 minutes. So again, I hope you had fun. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. That way I can just spread the joy of painting a little bit easier with your help. And I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoy this little sailboat painting and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Bye.